So there's different ways to stitch stars. I'm going to show you 10 methods, and I'll try and go through these pretty quickly. There's so many different ways to do it, and there's more besides. But I really like using these, particularly for filling large areas or for backgrounds, stars in the sky if I'm making a landscape scene, the North Star for my Christmas books. There's just so many options. So let's get started. So the first stitch is just a 5-pointed star using the straight stitch. I like to come up from the tips of the star here and meet them in the center. Now this is the most basic star, but I think it is effective and it can be done any size. When it's stitched on a very small scale, it really looks great and you can use all different colors. The next one is very similar. It's a 7-pointed star, and once again I'm going to start from the ends and work my way towards the center, but I'm leaving the center open. I'm not trying to touch the stitches. The next star is 8 points, and it's again just using that straight stitch. I'm going to cross all my stitches. So it's only 4 stitches. This is one that I like the best. I just like how it's symmetrical and it's based off a round shape. The next one is a modification of this one. Again, I'm using straight stitches and I'm crossing them over. I'm just varying the length of one of the stitches. The next one's a 12-pointed star and it has 6 arms that are longer. I like to start stitching the longer arms, then the medium, and then finally the small. So the next one's a 5-pointed star. It's just a little bit different. It's more like the star that you see people draw. The next one's a 6-pointed star that I always heard referred to as the Jewish star, Star of David. So the next one is 5-pointed, but not really pointed. It's using the lazy daisy stitch. Some people think it looks more like a flower, and I think it does, but in certain circumstances it can be considered a star. So I'm just going to start here, come up, come around, make a loop. So I'm going to come up towards the center, go back down very close to the center, keep a loop with my thread, and just tack that down. I'll do that with all the little spires here. And so it kind of reminds me of a sand dollar. So the next star is a 6-pointed star, but we're going to satin stitch it, and we're going to treat each of these diamonds as its own shape. So I'm going to start here on this diamond and create the satin stitch in that shape. I'm using 2 strands of embroidery floss instead of 6 because I think it makes for a nicer result. The 6 is a little too chunky. And then I'll just continue stitching the remaining points using that same technique. So then I have a satin stitch star. And for the last star, which is a little more complicated, we're also going to use a satin stitch, but at a different angle. Now for this star, I'm going to stitch this entire piece here using a satin stitch, but my stitch is going to go diagonal. So I'll start right in the center here, coming up, and just following that diagonal. And I'll go up and down the length of this shape doing that. Now I'm using 3 strands of embroidery floss instead of 2. I still like the fewer strands, but this is a bigger star. Now once I have that shape, I'll do that with the remaining shapes. I'll start with this next large one here, and I'm going to maintain that angle. I'm stitching just up to that original shape, so my stitches will get a lot shorter as I get closer. And I'll continue that with the remaining shapes. And so this is how the star looks when it's complete. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of satin stitch, but it's very effective. So here we have 10 ways to embroider a star to use in your slow stitching, your embroidery, to embellish clothing. It's just such a beautiful shape, and there are so many ways to achieve it. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for joining me today.